All right, we got four people. Hello, hello. Hello, everybody. Welcome, welcome. Let's see here. You have to unmute yourself if you want to say hi. Hello, Barbara.
Hi, Barbara. Hello, Brenda.
How
How
are
everybody
you?
doing? Good. How are you?
Good.
Holidays. Hi,
Hey,
Hi,
Sue.
Brenda.
How you doing?
We're good. We're on the road. We got stuck in a snowstorm in Helena, Montana.
Oh,
So yeah, we're not back home yet. Anyway, we're on the road.
yeah. Hopefully you're okay. Hi, Valerie. How are you? Welcome, welcome. So yeah, hopefully everything is going well for you in Montana. Don't get stuck. In
We're
the,
back in Saskatchewan now.
oh, all right, all right. Well, you got Europe there. Sue's from Canada, everybody. So she's in Saskatchewan. She joins me every month. She's a sweetie. Valerie, you joined too. All right, so let me get going here. I'm just trying to fix I do this once a month and it's always like another learning curve. All right. So, um, go to this one and then we'll go to this one. All right. Everybody can see that? Oops. I don't want to do that. And then I'm going to do every time. Okay. We're just going to go like that. All right. Can everybody see it? Very good. All right, good. Well, welcome. Hope everybody had, for those of you who are celebrated Thanksgiving, I hope you guys had a wonderful Thanksgiving. I am in somewhat of a hermit mode. I've had another really stressful year, and so my central nervous system is a little on overload. So we thought it was best, we meaning my therapist, we thought it was best that I lay low for the holidays and not, you know, go out. I got many invitations, and thank you to everybody who invited me to their home for Thanksgiving. That was very sweet of you, but I needed to be quiet. I needed to just kind of chill out. And as you can tell, I'm still in construction mode. My little studio is still chaos, and I've been trying to organize that instead. So hopefully, I have painters coming this week. I'm supposed to interview somebody tomorrow. So anyway, let's get started. I hope you guys have your tea. Everybody have a cup of tea. I know, Sue, you're driving. So hopefully you have something to drink. Oh, you guys, oh, good, very good. So let's get going. So again, as usual, this is my legal disclaimer. If you have questions about your health, contact your doctor. I'm not a doctor. This is just for educational purposes. So, um, as we gather around, the kitchen table today, it's dark. I just want you to think about New England and, the candle flickering and the snow. If you have snow, right now it's raining. We're supposed to have snow a little later today. And you smell the fresh scent of pine. And I just want, the kind of winter moment that our ancestors would have recognized, a pause, a breath, and a shared warmth in the darkest part of the year. Oh, we got two chats. Uh, very good. Um, So this is what we're going to be creating today. A very cozy, warm, you know, get your blankie, snuggle up on the couch. If you got a fire going, that's even better. I don't have a fire going, but I got an electric fireplace, so that's the next best thing. Um, so yeah, we're coming up on the longest night. And we have the winter solstice is coming up on us. Isn't that a beautiful picture? So we also have the shortest day of the year. And for the ancient people, this is the moment when the sun reaches its lowest point in the sky. For ancient people, this was a time of uncertainty. They watched the days grow shorter and shorter, and they wondered, would the sun come back? And you have to understand, back in those days, um, they weren't educated. They didn't have the what we know today. These people were illiterate. They didn't know how to read. My Swedish ancestors and Scottish ancestors. Oh yes, pumpkin too, Barbara. Absolutely. Um, they didn't know. I mean, can you imagine having, throw in an eclipse in there? You want to really freak people out? Just um, they just didn't understand what was going on. Everything was based around the sun. And then the flames against the dark is a reminder that life continues. Oh, I got another person coming. Hello, hello, welcome, welcome. Um, we're just starting our little presentation here, Val. So welcome, welcome. So, the Druids had lit bonfires to bring back the sun. Early Scandinavians decorated pine trees with shiny objects to herald in the return of the divine light. Which is now what would become the traditional Christmas tree. And there's debate whether the Germans created the Christmas tree or the Druids, but in any event, somebody thought of this as decorating because it was so dark. And they had elaborate rituals. They were reassurances. A flame against the dark was a sign that life does continue. And I can understand, growing up, I always knew that even in California, where, it's like 70 degrees, 365 days a year in Southern California, we had seasons for certain things. And my parents were very much this lived by the seasons. There was a time for canning, there was a time for crafting during the winter. Um, and there was a time for doing a variety of different things. So we have these evergreens as the symbols of endurance. Many cultures kept the logs burning for 12 days, not because they were being mystical, but because they needed the reminder that the wheel always turns, the darkness doesn't last forever, and the light always returns. And, we honestly do the same thing today. We light candles, we turn on soft lamps, we seek small comforts when the world feels heavy, especially right now. And we're not so different today. We're a little more comfortable today than they were back in the early days, because this was life and death. If you didn't have fire, you froze. I mean, minus 40 degrees Fahrenheit. I don't know what that is in Celsius, but that's pretty gosh darn cold. When it gets below certain numbers, it doesn't matter whether Celsius or Fahrenheit, it's bloody cold. So, one of the comforts that they had was the evergreens. And every evergreen. I don't know. You can see these pictures, right? There's nothing showing, nothing hiding them like this. I have this meeting chat. You guys, do you see this meeting chat box on my screen? I'm hoping not. Yes, for minus 40 is the same Celsius and Fahrenheit. Yes. Oops, I went back. Okay. So one of the things is that, everything died back. The deciduous trees, which are the trees that have leaves, your maples, your oaks, those are deciduous trees. And the winter turned brown and gray. We call it stick season here in New England. Everything is bare. But then you see the evergreens, and they stay green throughout the year, and they don't lose their needles, and they don't give up, and they just persisted. It didn't matter how cold it was, they just persisted. So the evergreens meanings became symbols. They meant endurance, vitality, protection. People looked at those green branches in the dead of winter and thought, if they can survive, so can we. Here in New England, we created those traditions. We hung wreaths on barn doors and on houses. We especially, in Maine, balsam fir scented the house. Evergreens were brought indoors. In the mid 1800s, immigrants, and it was kind of funny. I have to back up because the Puritans, are very much, their traditions are still very much present here in New England today. And the Puritans always were very strict religious community, no symbols. It was just a very close knit community with a lot of rules. And if you didn't respect the rules, if you didn't follow the rules, then you were in trouble. Either you were banned or you were fined. They found some way to punish you. So they rejected the evergreens decor because they thought it was too pagan. And they did fine people for hanging greenery. And can you imagine today? We'd all be fined, especially when they start hanging the stuff in Halloween. You go to the stores. I don't think they would be too happy today. But by the mid 1800s, America had a lot of immigrants at that point, and they all brought their own traditions, and we all kind of blended it all together. And yes, the evergreens were back on our winter decorations and celebrations. And by Victorian times, wreaths and greenery were being sold from Boston to New York, and they were shipped from Vermont and the Berkshires. So all of that stuff kind of went out the window. And people use cedar and pine and holly and ivy to freshen winter air, bring life into home, and offer a sense of protection. And evergreens are our herbal allies as well. So we have juniper. I bought these. I didn't have any fresh juniper. Since I've moved, I've lost my garden, so I haven't recreated it yet up in Vermont. So here are some juniper berries, and you can make juniper tea out of this. You can do a lot of things with these juniper berries. So you got the berries, and then I have these dried sticks that I got. Yeah, they smell really good as I drop them all over. So yeah, they're very fragrant, even in dried. So you can use these, you can add these to all kinds of different applications. Juniper was hung above the doors and burned to freshen stale air. In European folklore, juniper sprigs were said to deter winter spirits. The scent is sharp, cleansing, bright, and it's a kind of plant that wakens up, wakes you up, cuts through the stagnant energy of a closed up winter house, and it symbolizes, again, clarity, protection, and fresh energy. Now, I have a simmer pot going on right now. I can smell it all the way in here. And so I add juniper berries and cloves and a slice of oranges, and I just let that sit in it's a crock pot, really. And we'll talk more about that later. I really highly suggest that everybody have a simmer pot going. It just makes you feel nice and cozy and warm. Now we have white pine. And what are white pine. Okay, so we go to white pine. So I wanted to ask you guys, do you know the difference between a white pine and pitch pine? There's lots of pine trees. These are conifer trees. Does anybody know the difference between the two? So this is a sprig of white pine, eastern white pine. Now out west you have ponderosa pines. I don't know if you got pitch pines. There's a difference between pitch pine and eastern white pine. Now these little needles, they come in clusters, okay? And each one, there's 5 to a cluster. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So there's 5 of these guys. I hope you can see it in here. So there's 5 of these little clusters, and that's how you know it's an eastern white pine. A pitch pine only has 3 leaves. It's a little more scraggly. It lives in really rough conditions for like the East Coast where the winds blows. Cape Cod is full of pitch pine, and they only have three needles, and they have a little greeny yellowish tint. Their pine cones are oval shaped, where eastern white pine, they're a little longer, and eastern white pine has like a bottle brush like look to it. And these are very medicinal. There's a lot of vitamin C. They're great for respiratory support. You can infuse an oil. You can infuse these with vinegar. You can make a spray out of this. So Eastern white pine is a great way. Another person coming in. Hi, Julie. How are you? We're just starting. We're just getting going. We're on Eastern white pine. So I would, go out to the woods. Don't do all of it. Don't harvest all of it. You got to leave some for the poor tree. Ask permission first. Don't just go out and start hacking your trees or the trees in the woods. But get a couple of boughs and, add them to an oil, infuse some oil or infuse some vinegar, and you can create yourself a nice little spray. And you also can make a tea out of it. You can just put boiling water over this and make a nice, beautiful high in vitamin C respiratory support. So we have cedar, which is protection. It's clear, it's breathing, it's grounding, it's warm. And I couldn't find my cedar, but it is used to freshen homes. I love the smell. How many people have a cedar closet? Oh my gosh, I love the smell of cedar. It helps with stale air. People believed it offers sanctuary and energy and a sense of safety. Cedar was also used in broths to steam or clear breathing in cold weather. Its scent is grounding, warm, safe, and kind of smell that makes you feel like you're exactly where you're supposed to be. Now, there are some people that have a hard time differentiating between a cedar and a juniper. Now, juniper, I don't know if we can see these. Juniper is more of a bush versus cedar, which you see in the picture, is a tree. And the cedar has, the juniper has these little um, scales on them at the end of the berry. I can't, it's hard to see on these because they're dry. I don't know. Maybe hopefully you can see. Can you see this a little bit? Can you see the scales on the little twig of a juniper? So that's how you tell the difference. You know, it depending on the type of cedar. Sometimes cedar trees, when they're young, they're kind of scraggly looking. So, um, cedar also has pine cones versus juniper has berries. So that's a big giveaway. If you have a young cedar tree that looks bushy, if it has pine cones on it, then it's a cedar. If it has berries, well, then it's a juniper. Evergreens didn't just survive the winter, it was critical for the early people to be able to survive too. If you didn't have the wood, um, then you didn't have anything, you froze. You couldn't cook, you couldn't heat yourself. Um, you died if you didn't have a way to keep warm. So we have our winter kitchen. And our first one is rose hips. So let's rose hips. I love rose hips. They call them the winter jewels. They're high in vitamin C. They're very sweet tasting. They're anti-inflammatory and they're astringent. And here is now these what you see in the picture is a whole rose hip, and they're really hard. So these are crushed. So I buy the crushed rose hips, and I'll put links on the show notes when I post this on YouTube. If you want to know which brands I buy, I'll share the links with you. So I love I just buy the crushed ones because I did at one point buy the whole rose hips. They were so they're like rocks. Trying to crush those things, it didn't work well for the teas that I was making. So rose hips again, wonderful herb. I cannot live without them. I have them every day. You know, you can make teas, syrups, jams, and they symbolically they're like little stores of sunlight. You know, little gifts of summer left behind. And you know, a lot of the animals will feed off of these, and they grow wild. They're not cultivated. So if you're lucky enough to have this type of plant, this type of rose, wild rose in your area, you hit the jackpot. The next one is cinnamon. You know, cinnamon is a treasured spice. It supported circulation. It warmed the body and inside. It's cherished winter feast. Think of like mulled cider and holiday baking and warmth that spreads through you with the first sip of something. Now I have my Ember tea here, and there is cinnamon in it and rose hips and cloves and a slice of orange. And I'll tell you, I'm in love. I started making this. I made this recipe this earlier this fall, and I'm in love with this new tea. So I can't wait for you guys to try it, and hopefully you'll enjoy it as well. You know, and cinnamon also back in the Druze, obviously they didn't have cinnamon, but there was the trade, the Silk Road. And so I think Romans, they were notorious for, you know, introducing new products, spices into different areas as they went along and conquered people. Cloves, same thing. It's protection from illness. It's from the spice, what they call the Spice Islands in the Caribbean. They were traded through the Persian and Arabian routes. In some traditions, children actually wore cloves or as a necklace for protection from illness. Cloves were used for stomach ailments, nausea, and even toothaches. How many have heard using clove oil on your, put a little, yep, clove oil on your gums for toothaches. They are popular in Victorian winter punches and mulled spices. Even Charles Dickens, mentions clove scented hot drinks in his book called The Pickwick Papers. We all know who Charles Dickens is. He wrote the Scrooge, Mr. Scrooge. Um, Pompadours. I got one here. I made one this morning. Pompadours is an orange studded with cloves. Were given to neighbors as symbols of warmth, health, and abundance. And it smells amazing. Orange and cloves, and this is kind of the combination that I have in this cup of tea with the cloves and the orange and the roses. Oh man, this is absolutely heavenly. Um, so yeah, you can now I prefer the whole cloves versus the powder. So I just get a mortar and pestle and I just grind it up. Same thing with allspice as well. I'll grind these up fresh instead of using the powdered ones because God knows how old those are. And we have, of course, rosemary. Where's my rosemary? Did I can't pull it down? Rosemary is another wonderful herb. Even though this is a Mediterranean herb, oh gosh, I wish you guys could smell this. So this is dried rosemary. And rosemary is hung in kitchens, winter kitchens. It was used in breads, broths, and roasts. This herb, again, is known for remembrance for those who have passed before us, but it also helps with mental clarity. So if you got a foggy brain, start eating rosemary. Put rosemary in as much stuff as you could possibly think of. Eggs, roasts, soups. Start even drink a cup of tea if you think that it'll help. It wakes you up. It helps clear that mental fog. It's also a fungal helps with fungal infections. It's a relaxing nervine, which is a class of herbs that helps you calm down. It's like a Adaptogens are mild antidepressants. Nervines are even milder, but they do help with your mental health. Help just kind of give you a hug. And then we have, of course, the oranges. Now, what I love about oranges, we'll bring back our little pompadour here, is that you can dry the rinds. You can squeeze the juice and either freeze it or drink it, but then you can, save the rinds and dry these for later use or freeze them. I do have froze. I do this with lemons more than oranges. Where I'll if I'm using a lemon, I need a lemon. The lemon juice, I'll throw the rind in a freezer bag and I'll throw it in the freezer. So when I make a morning water, when I first wake up in the morning, I'll throw a piece of frozen lemon rind or orange if I have it in a cup of water and I'll drink that. But I save my oranges for my teas, which is what I have in here. I have a slice of orange in my tea. So in northern climates, oranges were imported from the south. They were precious. They were even given as gifts. People called them little suns in the dark months. They added brightness to teas, dishes, and they symbolize the sun in return. Bitters are great. Great for digestive issues. Again, it's antioxidant, and believe it or not, it helps iron absorption. So if you're a woman, you need to figure out a way to absorb your iron. We all need it, and this is a one way to do it naturally. So these again are staples for survival. We have garlic. We just had a talk about garlic, Sue and I, in Carol's workshop. about all the different ways we can use garlic during the winter. You can, again, cook with it, or you can infuse honey and make a syrup out of it for the minute you feel cold coming on. You take a spoonful of garlic honey, and it's actually sweet. It doesn't have that powerful punch because of the honey. Same thing with ginger. You can make ginger honey. But ginger is good as a tea, helps with antibacterial infections. Same as thyme. Thyme is great for lungs. Have if you have congestion in the chest, you can drink a cup of thyme tea to help open up those bronchioles. Same thing with rosemary, and we have juniper berries as well. So the plants transforms winter from something to endure to something to savor. So I wanted to share with you, this is actually a picture of, you think I'd have all this together. Sure enough, I knew I was going to lose it. So this picture is the herbary in the winter of it was last January, and I wanted to share this with you because it was absolutely magical. Um, so it was so beautiful in Vermont last winter when I was up there with my stepson. We had gone up to the property to check it out, and I just loved walking through the woods on the quiet. It was a early morning and it was quiet and it was crisp. And you could just feel the snow under the boots when it's that cold out. And it's just my favorite time to go out for a walk. And the world feels magical. It's like the world is holding its breath under this blanket of snow. It's so quiet. The sharp, it's sharp enough to make your lungs, the air, feel awake. The snow again crunches under my boots as I walked, and there was a stillness only you could hear in the soft, muffled peace, like the earth was resting. I had to stop a moment and just watching my breath drift off into the air. And I looked up, and the evergreens standing tall around me, green against this gray sky, steady and unchanging. And that's all I have up on this property. There is no deciduous trees. It's all fir and cedar, and it's beautiful. And it just reminded me that life holds on even through the coldest seasons, that persistence is possible. And again, as I continue to grieve, I too can endure. And I think about the people that came before me, my ancestors, your ancestors, who walked through winter woods just like this, who gathered pine boughs and cedar branches to bring into their homes, who lit fires and made tea and told stories to remind each other that we're all going to be okay. Winter wasn't easy for them, and it all asks a lot of us, even today. But it also offers something precious, the chance to slow down, to rest, to gather warm around the light, and remember what really matters. So I wanted to ask you something. Um, what helps you feel grounded during the darkness, during these winter days? I know some of you are in southern hemispheres, others are further north, and so your days are even shorter than mine. Um, but I just, is it a simple cup of warm tea like I'm having here? Is it a walk in the woods? Is it a glow of a candlelight, the company of loved ones? Whatever it is, I want you to honor that, tend to it, and let it be your evergreen, the thing that stays steady when everything else is so uncertain. So let's talk about my winter ember tea. So the recipe is super simple. Oh, we have comments here. Hang on. A lot of comments. Let me just open this up a little bit so I can see it. Let's see here. Infuse jojoba, give your hair a scalp. Yep, absolutely. Yep, and chocolate, no eggs, no roast for me, but rosemary is a great grain bean is my grain bean veggie nut makes me okay, good, very good, Barbara. Run out barefoot and hop around. Candles, scents, cuddled by fire blanket. Yep. Harvest wild greens lingering amongst the snow. Absolutely. Very good. Let me drink a little cup of tea. So this recipe is super simple. It's just a tablespoon of rose hips, a cinnamon stick, 5 or 6 whole cloves, depending on how spacey you want it. I like a lot of clove in mine and a slice of orange. And so it's winter, it's warming, it's bright, it's comforting. So when you make this tea, I'm just hoping that you really enjoy. I hope you let me know if you make the tea. Oh, I have somebody else made it. It's intuition. Hang on, I gotta play this out. For me, my intuition says add sage too. Yeah, you could do that. Add sage. Sage is great. Okay, so the tea, the rose hips, that's our winter jewel. It means winter's nourishment. Clove is warmth, and the orange is a little bit of sunshine. So when you add the cloves to the winter tea, we're carrying on the tradition that stretches from ancient China to Victorian New England. Kitchens were part of that long line of people who knew how to comfort themselves in the cold. So may your winter be filled with small comforts, steady warmth, and quiet reminders that the light always returns in the sky and in your life. And this is attributed to the Bat Wills. So I want to thank everybody for coming. Let's close this out here. Stop sharing. If you want to sign up for my newsletter, there's the URL. You get a free herb guide for your zodiac sign. You can also join my Patreon if you're interested in joining that. Oh, we got a lot of people today. This is very fun. Love it. So, I'd like to open this up to you guys and, share with what you guys do for the winter. What makes you feel warm and comfy and cozy? Anybody? Warm soups. Yes. Yes. Everybody. That's very, we crave comfort foods. What do you think Thanksgiving dinner is all about? That's like nice comfort foods. All the trimmings, veggie, beef, chili. Yeah, very good. So, yeah, so that's all I have today, ladies. Thank you for coming. We're a little shorter than what I usually do. So, just a reminder that next month, the last Sunday of every month, I do these little workshops. If you haven't signed up for my newsletter, please sign up so be informed. And hey, enjoy your day, the rest of your day. And thanks for coming, everybody. Catch you later.